Kirkpatrick Irongray Church lies in the Glen Cairn area of Dumfries and Galloway and stands next to the River Clwden. It dates from the early Celtic times, and Kirkpatrick refers to St. Patrick. There's said to be no church here since early Celtic times. In 1803, a larger church was built, apparently incorporating some of the remains of an earlier church. And by 1873, the present Romanesque tower had been added. The graveyard contains a large number of interesting and sometimes quite unusual graves. One of them is that of Helen Walker, a gravestone that was paid for by Sir Walter Scott. Helen was the inspiration behind the character in one of his novels, Jeanie. This was a woman who'd walked to London on behalf of her sister who'd been accused of killing her child to try and obtain a pardon from the king. Another burial here is that of Jane Haining, who is recognised as one of the righteous amongst the nations for her attempts to save Jewish orphans in Hungary in the Second World War. One of the ministers here was the Reverend John Welsh, a noted Covenanter and the great-grandson of John Knox. He refused to take the oath recognising the king as head of the church, and in 1663 he was ejected from his charge. In 1678 he took part in the conventicle on Skeoch Hill that lies nearby. Over 3 days, at least 3,000 Covenanters took communion. He didn't die as a martyr. He died in London, and his funeral was attended by hundreds, if not thousands, of ministers and sympathisers. As a local excise officer, Robert Burns knew this area well, so it's no surprise there are links with him, in particular of Captain Finnan. He was the commanding officer of Burns in the Royal Dumfries Volunteers, No. 2 Company, and actually had drawn the ballot with Burns's name on it. Within sight of the church is a memorial to 2 Covenanters, Edward Gordon and Alexander McCubbin. They were both executed there by hanging from an oak tree in 1665. They had been caught by Bloody Bruce, and they'd been judged by Cruel Lag. Cruel Lag was Robert Grierson of Lag Castle, and Bloody Bruce was so named because he'd removed the hands and the head of the Reverend Richard Cameron, a Covenanter, after the Battle of Aird's Moss. It was said that the oak tree that they were hung from never produced another leaf. The lady from the nearby farm provided a scarf so they could bind their eyes. For this act of kindness, she was condemned to 5 years' exile in the penal colonies of America. She did, however, eventually return to the area after the Glorious Revolution.